Welcome to the playground where the players play. I am your host. My name is Eddie Llewellyn, and I am honored to have singer, songwriter, musician, producer, the great vocalist Phil Perry. Phil,
You're laying it on a little thick today, ain't you, baby?
hey, that's your career. And there's probably more, and you're going to fill in the blanks, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Well,
I,
hopefully some of them anyway.
I got to say, over the years, you were, I'm sure, like vocalists, like look up to you as well as musicians altogether. But for me personally, I've heard your name so much over the years. I mean, I've seen your name on practically every album that I have, you know, and I did say albums,
Yes.
so so I got to say, for me personally, it's I'm so honored to finally meet you and to have you like here. We probably like crossed paths over the years, but that was like a long time ago in a galaxy far far away. So again,
In different cities for me.
yeah.
But I was
So
familiar with Switch before I came to California. So,
is that right?
yes,
Well,
yes.
thank you. Well, yeah, again, I thank you so much for doing this, and I'm truly honored to have you here. So thank you.
It's going to be
So
fun, man.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to it. And I mean, when Phil and I first spoke about this, I mean, I mentioned like this storied career, and I mean, again, I mean, I'm like taking notes, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much to write. So I kind of had to stop, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna let you fill in the blanks and all that stuff. I mean, we're talking like over
Yes.
50 years, and still going strong.
Trying to, as
Yeah.
strong as I can be.
I got to ask you first of all, how are you doing? I mean, through the whole pandemic thing or whatever.
We've
How you
been very,
doing?
very blessed.
Hmm.
Uh, the death angel has passed us by,
Okay. Okay. Hmm.
and we've had no inclination
Hmm.
of contracting the virus.
There
We
you go.
stay pretty sequestered.
Hmm.
Um, as you know, there's not a whole lot of live things going on, and the ones that are, you're doing from home,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
So I have nothing to complain about. I'm blessed.
Good, good. For somebody such as yourself, and I mean, you've been busy. I mean, you've managed to keep like busy like over the years or whatever. When something like this happens, and of course, this is like a different thing. I mean, we all are going through this.
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated? How do you personally stay motivated? How do you keep it going? As a matter of fact, let me rephrase that. A few weeks ago, I wrote on Facebook and I posed the question out there: songwriters,
Mhm,
such as yourself,
mhm.
how do you do it? You know, and again, that leads to the motivation now. What keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated?
Especially like now in this period that we're going through now.
For me, it's making sure that I keep my priorities right. My
Hmm.
first priority is my family.
Hmm. Hmm.
And therefore, I have to set an example by not running the streets,
Hmm.
wearing a
Hmm.
mask,
Hmm.
being
Thank you.
cognizant of where I'm going,
Hmm.
trying to keep up with the information that's out there,
Hmm.
deciphering whether it's true or not. I mean,
Right.
there's a multitude of things that are going on that we kind of take for granted. It's not like it was when we was kids. When we was
Boy, is that the
kids,
truth?
the news came on 3 times a day, right? Now
For
you
what?
got a 20,
30 minutes.
right. Now you got a 24-hour news cycle and
Hmm.
you got more than one outlet.
Hmm.
Well,
Hmm.
you tell me.
Hmm. Yep. Very good point. Very good
You
point.
tell me.
Yep, yep. And again, like you said, when we were kids, I mean, there were like three different news shows, and they were each about 30 minutes apiece. So it was easy to decipher what the truth was and what was not true. Now,
Right,
like you said, I mean, we're 24-hour news. You
right.
know, to
And we've
where.
gotten used to it.
Hmm. Hmm.
And unfortunately, we've taken the position that no matter what outlet we look at or listen to,
Hmm.
it's true.
Hmm. Mm. Mm. Good point.
We we have to get back to the ideology of thinking for ourselves.
What a concept, right? What a concept.
Well, I mean, it's the
Hmm.
digital age.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you go.
I'm old enough to remember those 3 broadcasts
Hmm.
of media in a day.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, it's a whole nother thing.
It is.
And,
You're right.
and you don't have to have a TV now. If you got a cell phone now, you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
We,
Like it or
we have
not.
to, I think we'll get to a point where we have to ask ourselves, why?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Do I need this?
Mm-hmm.
And if I need it, where will I look to find the outlets that I trust?
Mm. Mm. Good point. Good point. I remember there was a period there where I actually I went on what I would call a news diet,
Right.
you know, or TV diet, because I mean there was a minute, well actually for a while, I mean you can get inundated with so much news and actually be, you know, go all in where you're like, before you know it, it's like, you know, you get up in the morning, you're watching TV, and before you know it, the whole day is gone, and all you did was sit there in front of the TV and listen to the news. And I
Right.
caught
Well,
myself doing that, and I had to back off. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
no,
I mean,
no.
look at what we grew up through
Mm-hmm.
and look at what it is now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's a lot of togetherness with the two.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep,
It's
right.
it when it became a 24-hour business, it
Mm-hmm.
was it was cash on the barrelhead from the highest bidder.
There you go. Let me just see. This is gonna be fun. I'm so
You
loving this.
understand what I mean?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So with that, because I mean, I can see we're going to spend like we can spend hours just talking about news, the news thing. But let's go back to like Phil Perry's beginning. What
You
you
know,
know
you
when
can
you
always 86 that out if you don't want to
no no
deal with that. It's okay
no
with
no
me.
worries. This is real. This is real. This
It
is
wouldn't
totally
be
real.
my
Yeah,
first edit, my friend.
I know. It's all good, all good. So in your beginning, I mean,
Uh-huh.
and again, you know, I try to get as much information as I can before we speak. And again, I mean, your career is like massive, 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 massive. Starting in your teens, maybe
Yeah.
before that, you know.
Actually, before that,
Okay.
I wasn't recorded when I was in junior high school, but I was singing in singer groups in junior high school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Now I want to go back to your. Now I read where you were singing, and is it the Catholic church?
Catholic school.
Oh, Catholic school. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How
Yeah.
was that? What was that like? I mean, it wasn't just like regular, like if you.
All I could do was use my ears. They
Okay.
just happened to be playing Gregorian chants.
Right. Right. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. What was that like? I
It was
guess
an
you being
it,
new, it's like just, hey, this is what I do.
when you're a kid and you love how music makes you feel,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy for you to pay attention to music
Mm-hmm.
that you can't pay attention to anything else quite like.
Mm-hmm. 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 And
So,
Gregorian chants to start?
yeah, and Latin to start.
Phil. And you took it all in. I mean, as a kid, like you said, you just,
Well,
you know,
let me share a story with you.
please.
When I was in the second grade, they put me in the men and boys choir. And the men and boys choir sang in all the high masses at the
Mm-hmm.
Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
And we were ensembled and rehearsed by a lay teacher
Mm-hmm.
whose name was Mrs. Combs. I'll never forget her.
Okay.
She would always play the parts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a couple of times,
Right. So, that's all? Just a couple?
okay?
Uh-huh.
And then she would have us all sing it together. And she
Wow.
noticed one day that I wasn't reading the music.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
So she asked me to stay after the rehearsal. So I did. So
Mm-hmm.
she walked over to me and she said, Philip, I noticed that you didn't read the music. I said,
Mm-hmm.
no. She said,
Mm-hmm.
why? I said, you played the part.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you remember how old you were then?
I was probably 8, 7, something like that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
She said, but I only played the tenor part twice.
Uh-huh.
I said, yeah, I know.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
She said, you remembered the part and I only played it twice? I said, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
said, you didn't really have to play it but once.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Now I imagine this was no little part. I mean, this was like
It's 2 minutes and 15 seconds of uh tied 16th note
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
you would, and with your arranging chops, like
Mm-hmm.
you would write for a horn section,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
In that Elizabethan era of music
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
voices are doing.
Right.
Well,
Right.
you still playing the part.
Right. And when I said it was no little bit, I mean this is like this is a long piece, and it was only played for you twice, and you had it after that.
Yeah.
And she didn't have to even play it twice.
What got me into it was listening to music was my sanctuary. So when music played, I only focused on it.
Oh wow. At such a young age.
Yeah, couldn't help it.
Uh-huh.
Love to hear
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was it a kind of a thing like going to your childhood? Was it a kind of thing where music was always piped through the house?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. What style?
Well, my mother was into crooners.
Oh, okay.
So
All
I
right.
listened to Johnny Mathis, Johnny Hartman,
Mm-hmm.
Billy Eckstein, Arthur Prysock, Nat,
Oh my God.
uh, Mario Lanza. Mario Lanza had some chops.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And he sang some beautiful songs, man.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Just
Do,
stunning.
do you remember at the time like trying to emulate like those singers that you listened to?
I heard what I liked in
Mm-hmm.
them,
Mm-hmm.
and I tried to incorporate what I liked about them
Mm-hmm.
into what I was trying to do.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
It was
Mm-hmm.
like education by audio association. Yep. Andy,
Thank you.
you understand where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was merely a matter of listening, remembering, executing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's all it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You
Yep.
know, there's
We're
a
off.
world of music out there. If you don't listen to a lot of it, you only stay in the box. I
Thank
didn't
you.
want to be in the box.
Mm-hmm. 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 And thank you. So you're from that school as far as like the turntable, where how many times did you have to pick up the needle and put it back? Did you hear
Right,
that? Did you hear that
right.
part? You didn't hear that? Listen, listen. And you heard it. You heard it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So you go from there, and we're fast forwarding, I guess, through back then it was called junior high.
Yeah,
I almost said middle school because of my
yeah.
kids, but yeah,
Well, it
back then it was,
is.
yeah, yeah.
That would be appropriate in today's society, I assume. I would assume.
Right, right. So did you decide that okay, this I want to do this? Were there talent shows? There were
It was,
bands and all?
yeah, there were talent.
I read that you were a favorite in the talent show circuit.
Yeah, because we only had a guitar for accompaniment.
Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And at one time, we were a 4-member group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the guys would sing the basic chord,
Mm-hmm.
but I would change the chords by changing the melody of what, and where I would land would usually close the chord.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Well, when you hear that and you in junior high school,
Right.
it ain't a whole lot of people that can relate to that. They just know they like it.
Right.
They don't know
Right.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Eh,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody doesn't get a good music theory foundation.
Very good. Right.
You know
Very
what I
true.
mean? They just
Mm-hmm.
know what they like.
Mm-hmm. 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 Was that the beginning of like? Would you say that was the beginning of your writing career?
Yes.
Maybe not pencil and paper, but you know, you hey, I hear
Well,
this. Follow
we
me
all
here.
had our favorite writers, man. You
Okay.
had your favorite ones too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I did too. Tom
Mm-hmm.
Bell was one of my favorite writers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ashford
Mm-hmm.
and Simpson,
Mm-hmm.
Holland Dozier and Holland.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a host of people. See, I was always the kind of cat that read what was at the bottom of the record
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
vinyl days.
Right, right. It's funny. I've had people on before where we spoke about that, you know,
Mhm.
and I was definitely one of those that read every single credit more than once, you know,
Right.
and you remember, I mean, those credits made careers, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so
Where
yeah,
would you have heard Norman Whitfield's name had you never read the credit?
thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, and
Impossible.
hmm and not only musicians, I mean, what engineers, producers, like you said, Tom Bell. I mean,
Credits,
like,
man.
yeah, yep,
Credits.
yep, yep.
Look at the back of the album, vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
Look inside the CD booklet.
Mm-hmm.
Same information.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as many eyes.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. What do you think about today's market where that's not so readily accessible like it was then? I mean, now everything is streamed,
That
you
depends
know.
on what kind of accessibility you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because when major record companies ran the industry, there's a lot of people that made records, you never heard their records.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this, the digital age, we have the opportunity to go on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
or go on a multitude of music platform social media
Mm-hmm.
and educate ourselves to what's out there. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's stimulating. And on a
Mm-hmm.
certain level, I think it kind of levels the playing field a little bit.
Good point. Good point. Good point. Um, Going back to your school days,
Yep. Junior high
your
school or high
junior
school
high.
now? Okay.
Let's talk about them all because again, I mean, I mean, you had quite the career there, and I mean, I'm sure it wasn't like one of those things where, okay, let me do this, take a break, let me do that, take a break. I mean, you
No.
like kept it going, you kept it
Yeah.
moving.
You had to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How
It's,
was? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
especially when music is your escape.
Mm, mm-hmm.
It, it's hard for people who don't have music as an escape to
Mm-hmm.
understand how important it is to have an escape.
Nice, nice, nice.
See, because when I was in between the lines and spaces,
Mm-hmm.
nothing else existed.
Okay. Okay. Mm. Were you always writing then?
No, but I started in junior high school.
Started
And
writing.
yeah,
Okay.
because I wanted to be more than just a singer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
figured it's the music industry.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
if it's the music industry, you can't be successful at it if you don't know music. How can you know it if you don't write it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How?
Right. Mm-hmm. You're right. You're right.
So I jumped in with both feet and didn't know at all what I was doing. But I did know how to count bars,
Uh-huh.
and I listened to sections of songs
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how at the end of one section, the chord might change to lead you into the next section,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how the arrangement followed that harmonic support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just a learning process, man.
Now let me ask you, because going back, you said that, and correct me if I'm wrong. You said that, like in some cases, you vocally would lead where the creation of the music should or would go.
Yeah, I've always heard music,
Uh-huh.
even when it wasn't playing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of harmonic sensitive. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I do is I kind of lock into what I think the melody should be.
Mm-hmm.
but I spend more time on putting the right notes up underneath it so it cuts through.
Wow, wow, wow. And I like that harmonic sensitive. I like that. I like
Well,
that.
how much different would our world be if we all
Hmm.
strive to be more harmonically sensitive?
Ooh, Phil, right? Thank you, thank you, thank you. So when it came to see, I'm a harmony person. You know that. I love good harmonies. And when you get somebody such as yourself that appreciates like those parts, those things, outside of like the lead or
Now,
whatever.
don't tell him that I said it, but that's one of the things I've always respected about Philip Ingram.
Ah,
Philip
mm-hmm,
Ingram has ears,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and he
I
can
grew up.
voice and he can voice beautiful
Mm-hmm,
harmonies
mm-hmm.
by himself.
Yep, yep. I know, I know. I grew up with him. I mean, we were both like back and forth as far as like harmonies and all that stuff. And it was always a joy to work, as you know, to work with Philip in the studio because he was one of those ones that you gave him a part just like you know, and he'd hear it. And if there's a problem with the first time, he's like, "Okay, play it for me one more time." You never needed more than like once or twice with Philip, like and I remember we.
Buzz Light ears.
Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. And I love giving him parts because I mean he got it. Got it.
I've seen him get his part, and
Mm-hmm.
before he was done, the chord had changed,
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it sounded better.
Now you said I can't tell him this. I'm going to keep this in here, right?
Yeah, but just don't tell him that I said that.
Oh, right, right. You got it. You
You,
got it.
you can cut that out.
Right, right, right. So, okay. So now we're moving
James
on.
too.
Yeah.
James
Oh,
is
yeah.
a
James was another
beast
one. Yes.
too.
Yep. He was another one. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up with both of them. Philip, of course, is my brother, but James also, and to see them both work together like that, it was amazing, just amazing.
Some of the most memorable recording sessions as a background singer I've ever done have been with the two of them.
Ah, really, really. I
Magic
believe it.
too, man.
I believe it. I,
Magic.
mm, I believe it. So you're from is it Springfield, Illinois, right?
That's where I was adopted from. I grew up
Okay.
in East St. Louis, Illinois.
Ah, okay, okay.
Miles
So
Davis, Leon Thomas, Oliver Nelson, Catherine Dunham. That East St. Louis, Illinois.
thank you. Awesome, awesome. So you do everything you did like back then through school or whatever.
Yeah,
Please tell me, by the way, the Montclairs
yeah.
at the ripe old age of was it?
When the first album came out, I mean, when the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
single came
I
out,
read I read
I was
17, but of course it
17.
started before that.
17.
Right, right, right. And that's when you signed. But actually the group like did it start when you were 17 or just before?
Uh,
I'm trying to give you a couple
Maybe
more years.
a few years
Okay.
before.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
The the original personnel
Hmm.
didn't end up being the personnel that recorded the first record.
Okay. Okay. And you were 15, 16 then?
Uh-huh.
How did that come together?
Well, it, for you to understand, you'd have to remember how it was back then.
Okay. Hmm.
When you were walking from one class to another and you
I
thought you
remember
could
well.
sing a little bit,
Take me
right?
back. Take me
Okay.
back.
And so you sung from one class to the next class
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
until your guidance counselor pulled you into his office and said, "Do you see what kind of trouble you're causing
Uh-huh.
in the
Uh-huh.
halls?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Mr. Dew, I'm just going to class."
Uh-huh.
He said, "Well, go look behind you. Next time you sing down the hall, walking down the hall singing, look behind you and see what you're doing and stop that singing in the hallway.
What?
Okay? Just don't do it."
Uh-huh.
If you need a pass to go to the auditorium to work on the music, I know what you're trying to do. I said, Mr. Dew, we got to go. We've got to tighten up our sound if we're going to go further in the industry than we are now. My mind is always on the music, always. He said, well, forget about it when you're walking down the hall. Here.
And what's going on? You said, look behind you. What's going on?
I did what he told me to do. I walked out of his office. I got about 20 feet away from his office. I started singing, do you remember Born to Love You, man? Girl, as you walk by, I breathe a sigh, 'cause deep inside I knew it had to be. Okay, and I looked behind me, and there's 12, 15 girls following me down the hall. And that's what he was talking about, but I don't have eyes in the back of my head, and I didn't know they were there. I wasn't singing to do that.
Right.
I was singing because I liked the tune.
And of course, the acoustics in the hallways are like, totally conducive to singers.
No, not the hallway. Underneath the stairs.
Oh, even better. Reverb, natural born reverb. Come on now.
And see, back then they had steel stairs. So
I
it was
remember
pretty
well.
bouncy. So if you were out of tune, you heard it pretty quickly.
Yep, with the big windows and the brick walls and all
you
that
knew.
stuff.
Come on.
I know. Yeah.
Come on.
Yep. So you're building a fan base, and the dean doesn't like it.
I didn't look at it as building a fan
base. Right. I know.
Because frankly, I didn't know they were there until I looked. I didn't know. I wasn't singing for that. I wasn't doing it for that. But once I found out that I could, I thought to myself, maybe I can do this well enough for somebody to hear it and think enough of it for me to actually make some money at it.
And that is the beginning of Phil Perry's music career.
We won a talent show. Because we won, the first place was getting to go to the studio and make a record. Wow. That was Hey You.
Whoa, really?
Okay.
Okay. So now, as a result of that, the writing has to keep coming now. I mean, you got right. What was that?
How was that? Unfortunate. It was a burden because I was the only one that did it.
Oh, okay.
Got to be careful what you ask for.
Right.
Because you could get it and not know the intricacies and other things you have to do to maintain that kind of flow. Which I had to learn.
Now, I mean, we're talking like, junior high, high school now and all that stuff. Now you got to maintain your focus, let alone your schoolwork. I mean, you got to do your schoolwork. But I mean, your focus? I mean, you had to have like a certain focus, a certain drive to keep this going, because now you got a record out and you want to keep going.
It's in between your ears. Okay. It's not what you hear coming out of the speaker. It's what you hear in between your ears. The closer you get to that, hopefully the more success you have when it's coming out of the speakers.
Okay.
Plus, my daddy let me know early in life, son, if you want to be successful, you have to keep at it. You have to work at it. You have to stay committed. Committed. Multiple syllables,
right?
Not multiple meanings.
Right. It doesn't sound like that was very hard for you. I mean, you
Not
knew
when
what you
I
wanted to
was,
do and you went
not
for
when
it.
you love your escape. No,
There you
it's
go.
not difficult.
Mm, mm, okay. Nice. Yeah. Mm. So what takes you from there to you went to California after that?
Well, we recorded Hey You,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went to you may not have ever heard of him. His name is Oliver Sane,
No.
sax player,
Mm-hmm.
incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we went to his studio and recorded enough for an album,
Mm-hmm.
and then we shopped a deal and
Now is
got
this
one.
is this after the Montclairs or is this around that
This
same period
is
of time?
this is the Montclairs.
Okay. My mistake. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just like the single was the Montclairs.
Right.
Now we had an album,
Okay. Okay.
and that took a good long time
Mm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't as efficient or proficient a writer as would undertake that journey.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I mean, the thing, I mean, even during that time, I mean, that's one of those times where you can have the naysayers come in there and say, hey, you'll, go, as we always joke, go get a real job, you know, but
I'm,
that you kept your eye on the prize and you kept it moving.
every generation has something that they love that their parents don't understand why they love it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Be it a style of music or a style of movie or the books that they enjoy. That always goes on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just had to stick with it so that I could show them, yeah, I can be successful at this.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm.
But I got to do my part first.
Mm.
And that's being committed.
Right. Right. Mm. Mm. And I guess the thing as far as and you know how it is. I mean, you have those that claim that they're going to be committed, but they're only committed like so far, you know, so far up to like maybe the fame. Okay, I'm famous now, so I'm done. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. You got to keep it going. And Phil, for 50 years, you did, you know.
I learned at a young age what you say you love, you have to sacrifice for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not willing to sacrifice for it, it's not love.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. Mm. So let me ask you. So now you've done some recording on your own,
Yeah.
right? You've been featured vocalist with like a multitude of people, and like I said, that's where, like I said before, I started like writing down like all these people that Phil worked with, and I like gave up because I'm like, what are you doing? I mean, I have like the great George Duke, Russ Freeman, Dave Benoit, David Foster. I mean, dude, come on now. Come on. How did that go? I mean, how did it start for you? Do you remember the first person that you worked with, and how did it start for you? To just
Wow. The
just
first person I ever worked with
yeah, mm-hmm.
in California.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I know I'm going back.
Uh, I would have to say Chuck Jackson.
Okay.
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 Because
Mm-hmm.
he and I wrote a lot of songs together when I first came out here.
Yeah.
But in terms of studio work, I think that would be my Perry and Sandlin recording on Capitol.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That was and I got to we got to work with the Waters family.
Mm-hmm.
And
What was
and
that
every
like for you? I mean, to work with such greats like that, and you're on your way to becoming one of them. What was that like for you? You know.
I saw their professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
I saw how easy it was for them to get the job done, or how easy they made it seem
Mm-hmm.
to get the job done.
Mm.
And not only did I respect it, but I used it as a mantra to emulate in my own behavior when
Mhm.
I got the opportunity to do for other people what they were doing for me.
Wow, Phil. Okay. Okay. So, so this is now your day job. You're in the studio
Right.
all the time.
Plus, man, Eddie, you got to keep in mind, Eddie.
Mhm.
I was married right after
Mhm.
those two records on Capitol,
Mhm.
and I had 4 kids.
Oh man.
Okay,
Mhm.
so ego, ego don't have a whole lot to do with bill paying.
Thank you.
Now, there are those performers,
Uh-huh.
recording artists, who don't work with anyone else. Prince,
Mhm.
he had other people on his records, but
Mhm.
he basically did his own records.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
I I I came to the realization that if music only has one source, it's not all it can be. Because the different people that you bring into a particular composition bring themselves and what they feel
Mhm.
and the love they have for music to what you're recording.
Mhm.
I'd
Mhm.
rather have that
Mhm.
because that creates more vibe. You feel that more.
Mhm.
People always wonder why the digital age music feels the way it does. Well, one is because it's digital, but the other
Number
is
one.
because a computer can give you great samples,
Mhm.
but it's not a person.
Right. It cannot give you feeling.
It cannot give you feeling.
Mhm.
Now, you can try to program it in
Mhm.
like a lot of people do,
Mhm.
and they're very successful at it.
Mhm.
But the suggestion that the person that buys a movie ticket and goes into the movie and watches the whole movie, he doesn't know whether he listening to samples or real strings because
Uh-huh.
that ain't his thing.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
You feel the difference when you hear real strings.
Mhm. Right. 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 And do you remember? Because I remember I used to make light of it when things started going digital, whatever. As a matter of fact, when sounds were like put in keyboards or
Yeah,
whatever, and what at back in the days of the ARP synthesizer.
I know
Oh,
them well.
listen to how great those strings sound. It's like what?
What strings? Where's the bow?
Right. 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 Mm-hmm.
Where's
Mm-hmm.
the in time vibrato?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where's
Mm-hmm.
that?
Right. Right.
And if it's not there, is it live
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or is it Memorex?
Right, right. And don't get me wrong, nothing against ARP or the keyboard itself, because hey, I used it,
No,
but I just
no.
remember because I love, like you said, I love the sound of like real instruments. I
Yeah,
love the
yeah.
sound of like real violins or
You
whatever.
just you
You know.
just brought up the art. We could
Mhm.
talk about the prophet too.
There you go. There you go. Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they were beautiful soft pads.
Mm-hmm.
But the suggestion that they were a section
Mm-hmm.
that was playing stringed instruments
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
just isn't true.
Uh-huh. And how hard was it for you to hold back? Wait a minute.
You know, before before I came to California,
Mhm.
my love affair with music began with strings.
Mm. Mhm.
Chances are, though I wear a silly grin, the
Mm.
moment you come into view.
Mm. Mhm.
The strings on Johnny Mathis,
Mhm.
Nat Cole,
Mhm.
they knew about strings.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
So even though I like the availability of sonic identification that synthesizers gave us,
Mhm.
they don't give you that.
Right. 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 Or this or the for
Bowen.
lack of a for lack of a better way of putting it, the scratching sound of a bow. You know,
Correct.
and I don't mean scratch like that. I mean just that sound of the
Oh,
string,
you
the
mean that
rosin and all that.
tremolo intensity.
Mm,
I see.
thank you, thank you. Yep, yep. Or even like a horn section. I mean, to hear, you know, see, you see.
George Duke had some good sampled horns, though.
Yes, yes. And he's needless to say a
And
hero
he
of
was
mine.
a master at using them.
Mm-hmm. He was a hero of mine. George Duke is like, you
Yes.
know, he was a hero
George
of mine.
was a lot of people's heroes, Eddie.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep, yep. I had the pleasure of speaking with Lynn Davis, you know, a while back,
Yeah.
and wow,
He's a
wow,
giant, man.
yeah, yep, yep. So yeah, needless to say, when he left us, I was not a
You
happy
know,
camper.
he produced Call Me.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
So now
And there you go.
I do the vocal.
Mm-hmm.
I walk back through to get into the control room.
Mm-hmm.
Soon as I get in the control room, I said, George, that entrance after the first verse, I know I can make it better. He said, sit down, man. So I sat down. He played it.
Mm-hmm.
And he listened to it. And you could tell he had the ears on.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me and said, now you want me to let you go back in there and do that. And ain't nobody gonna hear that but you.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Pick up the phone. Lily, I'm sending him home.
Mm-hmm.
If he ain't home in 20 minutes, call me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Looked over at me and said, get out of here, man. Next
Mm-hmm.
time you hear it, it's not going to even be there.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. I'm glad to say I recently had that same experience where I had like, you know, like tell the vocalist like, no, we're not redoing it. That's it. So,
But see, that's that artist thing. And that
mm-hmm.
artist thing suggests to the individual that has it that
Mm-hmm.
if he has to do it 1,000 times to make it better, he's willing to do that.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when you feel that way about what you do, you want to do that to everyone that gives you the opportunity to do it.
Right. Right.
That
Right.
becomes your norm.
Mm-hmm. 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 Let me ask you about the Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah. What about it?
Yeah. Yeah. What about that?
Well, I would be less than truthful if I didn't tell you that it came as a total and complete shock to me.
Really? Wow. Wow.
Just what?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See, because when you don't do it for that, you're
Right.
surprised
Right.
that even finds you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You
That you're
know,
even on that radar. Yeah.
in '85, Ernie Watts, saxophone player.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Love him. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Made a record. I went over to Don Grusin's house, Dave Grusin's little brother, and played this tune.
Mm-hmm.
And he stopped me. He said, okay, now let me write this down. I said, okay. So he wrote it. Then he told me, come back tomorrow and we'll put the melody on it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. Came back, I put the melody on it. I didn't know that he was submitting it for Ernie's record to Quincy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Quincy said, ask Don Grusin. This is a couple of days later.
Mm-hmm.
I called Don. I said, so what's happening? He said, well, I played it for Quincy. I said, well, what did he say? He said that the next time that I play it for him, that it should sound like a music prayer for peace.
Nice. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Lubbock, on string that did the strings.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Hay did the horns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I
Nice.
did vocals. Ernie did sax.
Hmm.
On a Grammy Award winning record. His second one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. Uh, wow. Mm. Throughout your career,
Yeah.
and again, and I mean, you've had a long one. And what I like about like this opportunity when I interview people is like, yeah, you know, and you know, I mean, in this business, you know, we have the high points and then we have like the low points. I mean, there are the bumps and bruises and all that stuff that we go through.
Yeah.
For those that are up and coming in the business or whatever, do you mind sharing like one of those like and I mean, I'm not talking about like getting like down, like depressed or whatever, but I mean like one of those things in the business that, you know, like you warn against. I guess that's a good way of putting it. Like one of those things that you should look out for if you're coming up in the business.
The
Or two.
first the first thing I would say is it's the entertainment industry. And it's a tough business. So keep your heart in your chest and don't wear it on your sleeve. Because if people see that you wear your heart on your sleeve, they'll wipe their nose on it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And doing what you love to do ain't supposed to feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let the
Mm-hmm.
love you have for what you do. A Quincy quote.
Mm-hmm.
Let what you do speak for you.
Let what you do speak for you. Nice. I used to say, as far as like, you know, like you said, the entertainment business, um, a friend of mine put it best. You know, we do this for the love of it. We
Yeah.
would do this for free. You know, we
And
would do this for free.
have.
Thank you.
And have.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
that's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The difference, if you don't know whether you love something or not,
Mm-hmm.
do it and not make money.
Mm-hmm.
If you're still happy about being able to do it,
I like that.
come on.
Mm-hmm. 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 And be
But
okay with it. I mean, if I mean, be okay with it.
well,
Don't, you know.
Eddie, it's me and you.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
just money.
Mm-hmm.
You can't buy your way to heaven.
Thank you. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Is there anybody like in the business like now or in whatever that you see like up and coming, like, you know, hey, that guy, or hey, that girl,
I,
or whatever?
I hear a lot of quality in the younger generation.
You do.
Yeah, I just don't hear the commitment.
Ah, and there is a difference. It's mm, mm,
D'Angelo can blow
mm-hmm,
for real.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
He's a great writer,
mm-hmm.
but I don't know how long his career is going to be based on what he's put out.
Ah,
Why? Because audiences change
mm-hmm,
as they get older.
mm-hmm,
Their taste in what they want to hear changes.
mm-hmm.
If you don't change with them, you'll be making music to the same demographic your
There you
whole
go.
career.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
In other words, in your mid 30s, the funkadelic that you used to shake your booty on every time it came on,
Mm-hmm.
that 600 cycles hit your spine then, you ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna think very much of it.
Uh-huh. 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 As a vocalist, are there
Uh-huh.
any um like exercises or techniques or whatever that you would advise like other, like those that are coming up, like, you know, this is how you practice, and it's not just singing a song like every day or whatever. Are there like, you know, scales, or what would you recommend as far as that, if you're telling a vocalist you need to work on this, you need to work on that, what
Is
would
this
you
for
tell them?
vocalists?
Ah, is that a
Is
rhetorical question?
no. Is
Okay.
this for vocalists?
This particular question is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then I would tell any vocalist, the only way you get better at singing is sing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
Because what you gonna do?
Uh-huh.
You go through all the exercises, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go through the scale, you go
Mhm.
half note, half step through the scale. You do
Mhm.
all of that. If you ain't
Mhm.
listening to you being staying in tune, doing all those exercises ain't gonna
Yeah.
mean a thing.
Right. 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 And that is an important part. Listen to you. Listen. Listen. Listen.
It starts
Listen.
with nobody ever made music until they listened first,
Mm-hmm.
even if they were just listening to the music between their ears.
Mm-hmm. 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 Good point. Very good point.
You gotta listen, man.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And if there's something that I think the younger generation could do more of, it would be to learn to incorporate live musicians, because music feels different when it comes from people who love it like you do.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
If you just want to practice some, practice that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is an art in and of itself. I mean, playing with like other
If you
people,
want to
it is.
practice, you
Mm-hmm.
want to get better, practice that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Wow. Wow. Let me ask you this in closing, and you pretty much, man, you pretty much like covered a lot. First of all, am I missing
I didn't
anything?
have any. I didn't have any choice. It was the questions that were coming to me at the time.
Cool. Am I missing anything as far as like, I mean, um, I like I try to study up on everybody that I speak to, but I'm sure I don't cover like the whole thing. And again, I mean, with a man who's like been in the business for as long as you've been in the business, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot. I would
I,
recommend, please look up, if you don't know Phil Perry, first of all. um, anyway.
that's what I love about the digital realm.
Mm-hmm.
We may not think of it as such,
Mm-hmm.
but in this realm, you can be brand new to somebody
Thank you. Very true.
every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll stand on what I did. It
Yeah.
ain't perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but I tried.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's very good, if I can add to that. And Phil said it's not perfect. To my ears, it's like, uh, that's up for debate.
Well, I'm talking about my own
I understand.
idiosyncrasies,
I
because
understand.
I'm sure when you listen to what you play,
Mm-hmm.
you wish you would have done something else
Yeah. Yeah.
in certain parts.
All the time.
Well, okay, then
Mm-hmm.
what would make you assume
Mm-hmm.
that vocalists don't feel the exact same thing?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
It ain't but 12 notes, Eddie. We all
Mm-hmm.
borrow from one another.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you bend it and how you say it that cuts through,
Mm-hmm.
and which
Mm-hmm.
way you bend it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It also helps to have content.
Yeah. Yeah. Another, wow, what a concept. Content is extremely important, which people like take for granted. Oh, I just, I'm see. Yes. Yes.
That's one of the things I always respected about James Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
When he heard content, he knew it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if he didn't, he wouldn't have sung the music that he did.
Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-hmm.
You sing a song like How Do You Keep the Music Playing? That's written by the Bergmans. In terms of songwriting, you don't get much better than that.
That's very true.
You didn't
Very
have to
true.
tell Jimmy James that. Jimmy James heard that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And boy, talk about delivery. Talk about delivery. You know, I mean, you can have great content, but if you don't, well, I don't know. I guess that's up for debate as far as, you know, if as far as delivery. No, 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 no. You got to have good delivery on something like that. You just do. You know.
Delivery is just a multi-syllable word. What you gotta have is the ability to make people believe that you believe what you're saying,
and that's what I
when
mean.
you're in front of a microphone.
Absolutely. Right. 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 And that's what I mean. I mean, you got to. I'm going to leave that there. You said that perfectly.
Yeah,
You're absolutely
that's
right.
what. Look, Eddie, that's why me and Philip and James and so many other singers respect one another,
Mhm.
because we can hear the love that
Mhm.
they have for it.
Mhm.
Because you can't do it a particular way unless you've loved it a long time.
Long time. A long time. A long time. Well, well. Phil Perry, in closing, I'm going to ask you just generally, as far as like, you know, those that are up and coming, what advice that you will offer them, no matter what part of the entertainment business it is, what advice would you offer like those that are up and coming in the business?
Define yourself.
Hmm. I'm going to leave that there. That's enough said. And there it is. My man, thank you so much. Thank
My
you so
pleasure,
much, Phil.
pal.
Man,
My
the pleasure was
pleasure.
all mine. The honor was mine. Thank you again. Thank you for
Okay.
being on the playground where the players play. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Perry. Thank you.
Peace.